Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Welcome back to my channel. My name's Kachelle and I try my absolute best to teach you about a true crime case. And this week it's Father's Day, so I've got two specials coming out today and tomorrow for Father's Day. Do apologise if I seem a little bit flat at the moment. I've just finished filming Elliot Rodgers, which will be out for you guys in a few weeks, but it's really ruined my mood. It's ruined my day, if I'm honest. So I'm just trying to get myself back into filming, mood. And I don't think this case is going to help me. Or the next one, to be honest. I'm going to go to sleep crying this evening. I hope everyone's had a fabulous week. Could you all let me know what you think about this jumper? I'm really not sure. I really don't know. I loved it. I got it off Vinted and now I've got it on me. I don't know if I like it. So please let me know your opinions on my jumper. I hope everyone's had a lovely week. I've basically spent my week... What have I done this week? I've basically got sucked into TikTok wormholes, but it's with things that aren't relevant to me whatsoever. Do I have children? No. Do I watch Foodie Baby content? Yes. I think her name's Kim. I have to know what her very particular 10-year-old and her, I think, 2-year-old has eaten. And herself. Every day. I need to know what they eat in their packed lunch. I need to know if he's eating his peppers. And Donovan. I'm obsessed with Donovan. I like seeing what he eats every day as well. But yeah, that's been my life this week. I've just been watching things that do not apply to me whatsoever on TikTok. I've taken a break from watching kind of true crime content, which I need to get back into because I need some more scripts. If anyone has any ideas of content or cases they'd like me to cover, please let me know, because I think I've only got like 3 scripts left because the pile that I've done is ridiculous. I'm impressed with myself. I have just finished watching Power of Parker. If you haven't seen that, go watch it. It's really easy watching. It's on BBC iPlayer. Season 2's just come out, so me and my mum binge watched that yesterday and it was brilliant. I'm also starting to watch Doctor Who again. So I was a massive Doctor Who fan when I was younger, and David Tennant was my first love. And I still, 15 years later, haven't been able to bring myself to watch after he left because it was my first ever heartbreak and still is heartbreaking to me. I don't think anyone will understand how shattered I was when David Tennant left me. So because Billie Piper's coming back as well, we think she's coming back as the new Doctor, I do actually need to catch up. So I've got a lot to catch up on. I still can't watch the Doomsday episode. That you will never get me to watch that ever again. That I remember watching it as a child and going into my mum in the kitchen and I was in floods of she thought like one of my friends had just died or had like broke a leg. Like I was sobbing. She didn't know what the hell was wrong with me, and then as soon as I told her, I was like, Rose is stuck. She did not care. She didn't get it. She didn't care. So today's case is one that I actually hadn't heard of before, and it does lay into Father's Day, and it lays into my favourite topic, that is of choice, whether you are pro-choice or pro-life. If you're pro-life, fuck off. I don't need you in here because I don't care about your argument. You're wrong. I'll bring up how this plays into that at the end, because I feel very philosophical after doing my Elliot Rodgers case. I turned into a therapist during that case. Today I'm going to be covering the case of Rae Carruth. What do you do when the man you love becomes the man who wants you dead? She was 7 months pregnant, shot 4 times and left to die. But with her final breath, she solved her own murder. The man behind it was a rising NFL star with everything to lose and with no intention of becoming a father again. Rae Carruth was born Ray Lamar Wiggins on the 20th of January 1974 in Sacramento, California. He grew up in a fairly stable home life and environment. He was raised by his mother and his stepfather, whose name he would later go on to take. His family valued education and hard work. Ray's biological father was somewhat distant and unemotional, which led to a very strained relationship between the pair of them. His father's emotional distance seemed to have effects on Ray's self-esteem and his ability to form deep, lasting relationships in the future. His mother, however, was a lot more involved in his life, but they still had their difficulties. From a very early age, Rae was known for 2 things: speed and charm. He was a quiet child. He was more introverted than extroverted, but he found his solace in sport. His relationship with his friends were often surface level, and he seemed to struggle to open up about his personal life, feelings, anything along those lines. As he moved into adulthood, football was his escape to feel his deeper emotions. He played football in high school, where his speed and agility were highlighted. His talent on the field helped him quickly gain recognition. However, he was also known for his temper that would sometimes flare up during these games. Despite these problems, he still showed promise and potential. By the time he went to college, he was a standout wide receiver for the University of Colorado. He was putting in big numbers, and this caught the attention of NFL scouts. In 1997, the Carolina Panthers drafted him first round, 27th overall, which is a massive deal. He signed a $3.7 million contract with a $1.3 million signing bonus, and he quickly became a rising star in the league. Behind his public image, he obviously had two sides to him, which is never a green flag. He had a lot of success on the field, but his personal life remained tumultuous. He was known for being quite reclusive and aloof whilst off the field. He did have a child that he had with a woman named Michelle Wright. According to court records, he was not exactly a heavily involved father. Michelle ended up having to sue him for child support. He's just got $1.3 million as a signing bonus, and she's having to sue him to get child support. That's shit. And even when he started paying, as soon as Michelle moved on with her life and moved in with another man, he stopped paying. Controlling much? So Cherica Adams wasn't famous, but she was loved by all who knew her. She was a 24-year-old real estate agent and a former model in Charlotte, North Carolina. Friends described her as bright, determined, and full of love. She had dreams of building a family and wanted to be more than just someone's girlfriend. She was outgoing and confident, and in 1998 she met Rae in a club. The pair began a relationship, and although at first it wasn't a serious relationship, Cherica believed that there was something real between them and that it was going to go somewhere. She was drawn to Rae from his charm, his good looks, and his ambition. At the time, Rae was well known in Charlotte due to being a Carolina Panthers player. So a lot of people who met him were kind of taken back by his status and fame. Their relationship began quite casually, and Rae remained distant, as I believe he did in all relationships. But as their relationship progressed, Cherica became more emotionally invested, and she remained super hopeful that despite his initial reluctance to get close, that he would eventually warm to it. But as the relationship continued, Rae remained emotionally unattached and unsure about what he wanted. Cherica eventually fell pregnant, and she was absolutely overjoyed by this news. She was hoping that the pregnancy would bring them closer, but when Rae was told the news, he was far from happy. His reaction wasn't joy, it was anger. Cherica ended up confiding in friends that Rae had tried to pressure her to get an abortion. He was adamant that he was not ready to be a father and that he did not want this child. He had no intention of taking any responsibility for this child. But like I said, Cherica was really happy with this news, and she wanted to build a life. She wanted to have a family, even if Rae wasn't going to be involved. Her decision caused tension in their relationship because Rae was becoming increasingly frustrated and irritated that she was not listening to him, that she refused to abort this baby. And she had no idea that he was already planning a way to get rid of the baby. Despite the difficulties that they faced, Cherica held on to hope that one day Rae would eventually accept the responsibility of becoming a father. She continued living her life independently, attending medical school and working, but still dreaming of this family with Rae. As her pregnancy advanced, Rae became more distant. More distant, is that the right word? Distanced himself further is the way I should have phrased that. He stopped communicating with her altogether, ignoring her calls, texts, and just totally ignoring the fact that the birth of his child was imminent. Cherica was, of course, heartbroken by this. She was heartbroken by the lack of support that she was receiving. As her due date grew closer, she still remained hopeful that Rae would eventually change his mind, but deep down she was starting to fear that he would just never change. November 16th, 1999. It was a quiet Tuesday night, just days before Cherica was due to give birth to her baby boy, and Rae had hired a hitman. Van Brett Watkins was hired to murder Cherica and eliminate her pregnancy. His plan was simple. He wanted Cherica gone, he wanted the unborn baby gone, he didn't want to be burdened by fatherhood, and he sure as shit didn't want to pay child support. Cherica and Rae had gone out on a little date and they'd gone to see a movie together. For some reason they had, well, not for some reason, he'd obviously done this on purpose, but they had drove separately. So they'd both left, and I believe Rae was in front, Cherica was driving behind in her BMW. We're driving down Rae Road, which is a residential area in Charlotte, and this was around midnight. So suddenly Rae stops his car, and another car then ends up pulling up beside Cherica's BMW and starts shooting. She was shot 4 times, once in the neck, once in the back, and twice in the stomach. She was 7 months pregnant. Thankfully, thankfully, she didn't die immediately. She managed to call 911, which is just incredible. And she identified Rae as the person who had orchestrated this attack.
911, Baker, you need police, fire, or medic?
Police, I've been shot. I'm 8 months pregnant.
Okay, ma'am, you're 8 months pregnant. You've been shot. You're at Wessex Square.
Give them any information about what kind of car it was?
No.
Where's your husband at?
I don't have one.
Or your boyfriend, the one you said that was with you? Where's he
He was
at?
in the car in front of me, and he slowed down and put my foot up beside me and did this.
And then where'd he go?
He just left.
Okay. All right, what's his name?
Rae Carruth. He played for the Panthers.
Okay, what's his name?
Rae Carruth.
Rae
Number
Carruth.
89.
This call would obviously become the smoking gun, like the cornerstone of this entire case. Police arrived and found poor Cherica clinging onto life. She was rushed to hospital where doctors performed an emergency C-section, and baby Chancellor Lee Adams was born alive but barely. He was suffering from oxygen deprivation and brain damage. Cherica spent the next 4 weeks intensive care, paralysed from the waist down, hooked up to machines. And on December 14th, 1999, she passed away from her injuries. Thanks to the 911 call she made and notes she wrote down to police while she was in hospital, she'd put together a case. Investigators quickly put together the case. They put together exactly what had happened. According to the shooter, Van Brett Watkins, Rae had offered him $5,000 to get rid of Cherica, and this was all because he did not want to pay child support. This was not a one-time idea. He'd talked about it several times before. This was actually the 3rd time he'd attempted to orchestrate this hit. What the fuck? When Rae found out Cherica had died, he didn't visit her in hospital, or when he'd found out she'd been shot, he didn't visit her in hospital, he didn't try and reach out, he didn't tell his family, he didn't do shit all. He did, however, flee. What a man. On December 15th, Rae became a fugitive, and 4 days later he was found hiding in the back of a car, in like a boot of a car, in Tennessee, with cash, candy bars and bottles of his own piss. So it's not exactly the image of innocence, is it? Police station, Rae was of course interviewed, but he denied any involvement. What the fuck are you doing in a boot then? He claimed he had nothing to do with it. It's just laughable, isn't it? He claimed he had nothing to do with the shooting. Why in a boot? Why are you hiding in a boot if you've got nothing to do with it? Like, shut up. So a trial obviously takes place in 2001. They've got enough evidence against this stupid twat to take him down. This attracted mass amounts of media attention due to the nature of the crime, due to the motive of the crime, and due to the status of Rae. The prosecution argued Rae had masterminded the entire murder in order to get out of paying child support. They painted him as a cold, calculating man, willing to go to any length to escape his obligations. The defence, however, claimed that Rae had no involvement and no knowledge of this. Rae was charged with conspiracy to commit murder, shooting into an occupied vehicle, and attempting to destroy an unborn child. In a surprise move, he did actually take the stand at his own trial, which is rare. He of course said that it wasn't planned, he had nothing to do with it, he had no knowledge, and the reason he was found in this boot was because he was scared, not because he was guilty. He was scared, because that's what most people do when they're scared. Prosecution, however, had a ridiculous amount of evidence. Of course they did. They had the 911 call, they had Cherica's handwritten statements, testimony from Van Brett Watkins, the hitman, because of course once he got arrested he just totally turned on him, phone records, and Rae's own behaviour bit him in the arse. January 19th, 2001, the jury had reached a verdict. He was found not guilty of first-degree murder. However, he was found guilty on conspiracy to commit murder and all the other charges. Because Rae didn't fire the shots himself, he managed to avoid the death penalty, but he was sentenced to 18 years and 11 months without the possibility of parole. The good thing about this case, normally there's not good things about cases like this, but there is a good thing about this case. That is that Chancellor Lee Adams survived. The one person that Rae was really trying to get rid of did in fact survive. He weighed just 1 pound and 9 ounces, suffered permanent brain damage and cerebral palsy. He unfortunately cannot walk or speak unaided, but he is alive because of his mother's strength and the unwavering love of his grandmother, which is just beautiful. Sandra Adams, who was Cherica's mum, stepped in immediately. She raised Chancellor with grace, dignity and forgiveness. She's taken him to physical therapy, speech therapy, school events, prom, and makes public appearances to advocate for children with special needs, because she never let bitterness win. She wrote a letter to Rae in prison letting him know that she forgives him, but also making him aware that he will never be allowed to have a part in Chancellor's life. Rae was unfortunately released on October 22nd, 2018, after serving 18 years in prison. His release was not... People were not happy about his release. He felt that his crime that he committed had not been adequately punished. His actions were viewed by many as totally unforgivable. Despite him now being a free man, his legacy is not one of a star NFL player. It's one of betrayal, cruelty, and the destruction of a family. In a letter before his release, he ended up writing, "I'm apologising for the loss of her daughter, apologising for the impairment of my son, feel responsible for everything that happened." And that's it. You are responsible for everything that happened. It was directly your fault. And the public were not moved by this whatsoever. Shocking, I know. Chancellor continues to grow, thrive and inspire, and none of this is because of his father. None of this is with aid or help of his father, but in spite of his father, which I love. Cherica Adams was taken too soon. She was silenced too soon, but she left behind a son who embodies strength and a mother who showed the world what true grace looks like. This wasn't just a tragedy, it was a total betrayal by a man who she loved, a man who had it all and lost it all. Because being a father was too much to ask. Paying child support was too much to ask. And that is the end of today's case. Had you heard of it? I hadn't heard of it. But I think it's very... Well, it's horrible. Of course it's horrible. But I think it's very interesting, obviously, with everything kind of going on and that has been going on in regards to abortion. Obviously, Cherica got the choice to not have an abortion. But the thing that a lot of people were advocating for with pro-choice, with having the choice, is that if you don't have the choice, violence against women will increase. It like this. I don't know how it's not clear to people who make these decisions that violence against women will increase because people who don't want to be having these babies, or that end up having like affair babies and things like that, they will kill the women. They will kill women to hide these children. And that is fucking terrifying. I think I need to go watch the tennis. I can hear everyone screaming downstairs. But that is it from me today. Happy Father's Day. I didn't really do any. The other one I've got tomorrow is about a good father but a shitty mother, so I do mix it up. Happy Father's Day. I hope you have a lovely weekend. I'll see you again tomorrow, and then I'll see you again on Tuesday. Lucky you. But until then, make good choices. Oh God, I don't have a good sign off. No, I don't have a good sign off. Make good choices. Let me know what you think of my jumper. Don't get murdered. I'll see you tomorrow. Love you, bye.